All right. Hello, everyone. I am Claire Parsons from The Brilliant Legal Mind, and this is our event for Valentine's Day. We are going to be doing a loving kindness meditation, and we have a nice group here today of friends from in and outside of the legal profession, and I'm so happy to see everybody. It's actually my birthday on Tuesday, so Valentine's Day is always very special for me, and I've always really liked it. And actually, like in my practice right now, it's very busy. I'm dealing with a pretty intense preliminary injunction case. And so I have certainly relied on some of my practices this week in terms of managing stress and reminding myself that, even though this is hard stuff and it's kind of scary at times, it's actually what I love to do. And so some of these practices can be, they kind of can turn you into a puddle of goo inside, but they can also give you a lot of strength for being tough and fighting for what you think is right when you need to do it. But loving kindness practice, traditionally, it flows from yourself first. And it really is about wishing yourself well and then wishing other categories of people well, other specific people and then other groups of people. That's how the traditional practice goes. And some people have struggled with that traditional setup of practice. People in the West sometimes don't necessarily feel comfortable sending loving kindness to themselves. They can sometimes see it as selfish or self-absorbed, or they're just not used to doing it. And so maybe it conflicts with their inner self-image or whatever. And the thing that I would tell you about that, if you have concerns about loving kindness practice, is to just do what you can right now and give yourself some space to grow. What I have noticed about my own practice is, there's a place in meditation practice for discipline, for trying to sit with stuff that is hard and trying to learn a new way and learn to settle even when your mind or your body kind of wants to rebel against it. There is a place for that. There is also a place for learning to play with, not be so uptight about, and do what works for you in the practice. And I think that you'll find the most success probably in your life and your meditation practice when you can really make these practices work for you. And I one thing I don't necessarily get into the history of Buddhism or anything like that too much when I talk, but one thing I think you should think about is just the myth of the Buddha and go back to that story, because when he was sitting and trying to become enlightened, he did some really rigorous kind of stuff. He starved himself. He, sat for hours on end. And the thing that he did before he went and he found enlightenment was he went and asked for milk and rice from a woman. She gave him milk and rice. He felt a lot better. And that's when he actually learned how to, he became enlightened. And that's how the myth goes. And I think that us lawyers and us professionals can really learn a lot from that story, because if we can learn to feed and care for ourselves, we will be able to learn and grow and offer a lot more to others. So this meditation practice sort of has that idea, and it won't be super Valentine's necessarily. If Valentine's aren't your thing, you don't necessarily have to use that image. But what I'm going to do is play with loving kindness practice, but I'm going to mix it up. So what we're going to do first is send love out, and then we're going to bring it back in. And I want you to see if that makes it maybe a little bit easier for you to access. And I think you'll find that it's really enjoyable. I used to do loving kindness practice when I had the most rotten days ever, when I had like 14 hours of deposition with an opposing counsel who just wanted to yell at me the whole time. Those are the kinds where I would come home and I needed it. I needed to like wrap myself in it like a warm blanket. And it really did often have the effect of reminding me what I was grateful for, what I had available to me to support me. And so I hope it has that effect for you as we go into this Valentine's and Galentine's Day weekend. So I don't think we have any questions at this point. But does anyone have any questions or anything before we get started? Okay. All right. So we're going to get started by doing the same thing that we would do whenever we sit to meditate, and that's to find a comfortable position. I know that you've seen images of people sitting straight and tall and looking like they're unassailable. But I want you to remember that when we find a comfortable position, that supports our practice. So I want you to sit rooted in your seat, take up whatever space your body needs in that seat to feel like you're rooted and you're not going anywhere, to feel like you're stable. But stretch up tall so that you can create a nice clear airway for the breath to come in, to fill up your lungs, to even expand that belly, and then flow out. I want you to check in with areas of the body that tend to hold stress. Check in with your brow and the area in between your eyes. See if you can soften that area and soften those eyes. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or just lower them and look a little bit ahead of you. Check in with your jaw and let that hang loose, and maybe even check in with your tongue to make sure you're not holding it taut in your mouth without being aware of it. Letting this tension go will help the mind settle. Check in with your shoulders and neck. You may have tension in your neck that you can't let go of, but let yourself sit and see if it kind of can release on its own. But let those shoulders fall back and away from your ears. And check in with your heart. And just notice maybe your heartbeat. Notice your chest rising and falling. Notice if you have any other sensations there. Don't worry about something that maybe feels uncomfortable right now. If you can, let it be there. It may change as we go. And then check in with the area of your belly and just soften that area so you can let the breath in, let the tension out. And then make sure your hands are resting effortlessly either on the table or your legs in front of you, that you're not holding tension there. If you like, for this practice, it is common with loving kindness that some people enjoy putting their hands on their heart, or a hand on their heart and one on their belly. Or you may even like holding your hands in front of you. If any of those feel nice to you, feel supportive, you can try them. If not, if you want to just sit steady, that's okay too. But I first want to start by bringing a loved one to mind. This is somebody who is very easy to love. This could be a child, a best friend, a spouse. It could even be a pet. Someone who is easy to love, who makes you smile just when you think of them. And there's little difficulty with that person in this particular moment. And I want you to just envision in your mind doing something kind for them. It may be sending them a nice note, selecting a gift for them, doing something else nice for them. And right now, what I want you to think about is what you would do in this concept. So if you want to send them a note, think about writing out that note. Don't get lost in the words so much, but the vision of you actually selecting the stationery or picking the card, signing it and sending it, or selecting a gift in a store. And notice how that feels in the area of your heart, potentially your belly, maybe in your face and neck. Just sit with that vision of you giving to a loved one. Next, I want you to think of a mentor or a benefactor, and this is a person who has done something for you in your life. They've taught you something, they've led you through a difficult time. This may be a mentor at work, maybe a wise friend who often supports you, maybe a parent. Think of this mentor. Think of what they've done for you. And again, think of yourself doing something kind for them. Maybe you send them a text message to say how grateful you are to them. Maybe you see something, a book that they might enjoy, and you send it. Doesn't have to be big. It just has to be something authentic to you that you would do for this person. And stay with the vision of you giving to this person who has given to you. And notice how it feels in your body to give, to offer something back to someone who has supported you. Last, I want you to think about just someone who maybe needs a boost, someone in your life who just needs some kindness. And it doesn't have to be someone close. It could be someone around the office who you just know or sense is going through a hard time. It could be your child's teacher who you know is struggling to do as much for your kiddo as possible. Or a friend who you know is going through something. Just consider this person's situation and consider an example of a small thing that you might do to raise their spirits. And envision doing that. This could be as small as bringing them a cup of coffee when you know they're working on a project, or asking if you could bring them lunch, or sending them an encouraging email. Stay with the vision of actually doing these things. Notice how it feels in your body as you do them. Notice what sensations arise. Now, your reactions to this process may vary. Some of you may have felt fairly intense feelings. I regularly cry when I do loving kindness practice because I often think of my children and loved ones. So sometimes, though, I don't feel much. It may depend on the day. So I don't want you to judge yourself for any reactions you may have had. And if you have struggled at all with this, don't worry, we've got some other strategies we're going to try. But what I'd like you to consider next is when you are in the mode to give to others, how do you feel? What needs to be there for you when you are able to give to others? Do you need to feel safe? Do you need to be relatively happy? Do you need to be healthy? Do you need to be relatively at peace? I want you to think back on those visions you had for your loved one, your mentor, and the person who needed it. And consider what frame of mind you would have been in when you were able to send love out to those people. And with that in mind, see if it creates an opening for you to wish yourself well. Just to wish yourself that you will be happy, that you will be healthy, that you will be safe, and at ease. And just sit with those sensations in your heart, in your body, as you wish yourself well. And now I hope your heart might be a little bit more open, a little bit more settled. So we have given love out. We have given love to ourselves. And now let's let it come in even more. I want you to now bring back the image of your loved one and the gift or kind thing that you have done for them. And now I want you to consider the vision of this person receiving the gift. Maybe they open your note in the mail. Maybe you hand them the gift. I want you to see them react to that. I want you to see how consider what they may say back to you. Do they send you a text message? Do they call you? Smile? Notice that impact. Notice what happens for you when you see that impact. And sit with the sensations in your body as you see that. Next, think of your mentor and the kind thing you did for your mentor. See them receiving your gift. See them reacting to your gift. See them responding to you. And maybe it isn't with words. Maybe it is simply a smile. Maybe it is pride. See that impact and let that come back to you. And last, bring back the person who you did something kind for in your mind for the person who needs it. Bring back the vision of maybe you handing them that cup of coffee while they're trying to work. Or them saying, thank you for thinking to order me lunch when I have this deadline. Or how relieved they might be to get good feedback on a project on a hard day. See this person in your mind receiving your gift and responding and sending back the appreciation or gratitude or love or whatever it is back to you. Let that in. Let it sit and notice it in your body. So sometimes when people struggle with loving kindness and sending loving kindness directly to themselves, there can be ways around that. And one of the ways is recognizing that when we send loving kindness out to the world, it can come back to us. So however we need to take care of ourselves to be able to do that, recognize that we can offer that to ourselves and to others. And acknowledging that everyone across the world has these needs. Just see if you can just wish well to people across the world. That everyone be happy and healthy and safe and at peace. As we prepare to close, I just want to congratulate you all for taking time out of your day to come and try this practice, and for just doing anything for yourself in a culture that doesn't always remind us to do that. Because when you do take time for yourself, you are in a position to serve everyone around you so much better. And before we close, let's just take a deep breath in. Fill your lungs all the way to the top. Let your belly get as big as the breath will make it. Hold it for a second and then release it. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. All right, everyone's video is off, so I can't tell if everyone's maybe just a little sleepy or if anyone has questions or anything. Hello, Kristen. Hello, Amanda. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them. But if you want to just get on with your day, that is perfectly fine too.
Hi, Claire. I've been trying to start a daily meditation practice, and with little kids and somewhat unpredictable days, sometimes it's hard. Do you have any advice on that? Do you have a daily practice? Do you have any advice on how to get that going?
Yeah, so I would say like one thing to consider is a daily practice right for you? I generally recommend a daily practice because I think when you can make it daily, it can become something that is on autopilot. And so you don't always have to think about it. It's just something you do, like eating and sleeping and, that kind of stuff. So if you can get it daily, that's great. But if not, I would say that if you can't do it every day, avoid the judgment on it, because if you beat yourself up about it, I think people tend to moralize about meditation in a way that they don't always do with other practices. Every day for 100 days is not necessarily a habit, that's a streak. So you can have a very good habit even if there's some days that you miss, and you can get a lot of the benefits. So I think the bigger risk with, worrying so much about the daily practice is that you're judging yourself. Another thing I would think about is how long are you trying to do? So normally I meditate for 30 minutes a day, and that's what I strive for. And that kind of is what works with me. But if there's a day that I can't, I just do 5, or I try to just get 1 on some days. So, don't necessarily do all or nothing thinking either. So that's kind of how I would say. And with the little kids, like one thing you could do is also chunk it up. You could do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there on days that you need to. That might not be as good or as perfect, but when you're a working parent with little kids in the midst of a pandemic, I'm not sure that, perfect is what we all are, need to strive for. I think doing your best and continually being kind to yourself and sticking to things that, coming back to things, work. I think that's really where it is.
That's great advice. Thank you.
But yeah, I do miss all the time. I mean, I've had periods where I missed, and the long periods where I went away from it taught me that I need to do it every day. So I think sometimes you can learn from those times you miss. Like notice how you feel at the end of the day if you don't get to do it, because that might be something that brings you back to it.
That's true.
All right, any other questions? Thank you for the kind comments, everyone. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but does anyone have any? Looks like not. Any parting thoughts from anyone else? Thank you for smiling, Jeffrey. You were very encouraging to me as I did this. So I really appreciate that. So I'm going to end the recording and stop the meeting, but I really appreciate everyone being here, and happy Valentine's Day and happy Galentine's Day. Bye, guys.